The following is a conversation with Cyril Loum, the Assistant Director for Venture Development at Washington University in St. Louis. Cyril's role is to help entrepreneurs go from the ideation stage all the way to the funding stage by helping them with their 2-minute pitch, their executive summary, and getting them in front of investors. In our conversation, Cyril shares with us his personal journey as an entrepreneur. He shares why it's so difficult to balance life when you're an entrepreneur, and his thoughts as to why Washington University continues to be ranked #1 in entrepreneurship. That said, I'd like to present to you Cyril Loum.
In regards of the Skandalaris Center at WashU, we are the hub of innovation and entrepreneurship at WashU. Therefore, if anyone has an idea, like, we are the main stop, right? We're that main stop to catalyze you to all the various things that are happening. If that's within us as a center, or if that's one of the student groups or another organization on campus, we're trying to make sure we're the first place that you come to. We get you involved and we kind of disperse you to the rest of the areas, which actually help you in development of your venture. And my role is the Assistant Director of Venture Development at the Skandalaris Center. So what does that entail, right? That entails working with ventures. So I'm having early ventures. They have an idea, a concept, or maybe they're already up and going, right? They're meeting with me. We're looking at how to scale, how to actually launch, how to prepare to be pitched in front of investors. What do the financial projections look like? Am I having a good exec summary? Like, these are all the particles that needs to be in place for a great entrepreneur, right? To get us started. So my role is that interface with that student, faculty, staff, or alum, interface with them and saying, how can I support either the start of your venture or how can I support the growth of your venture? So as the AD for venture development at the Skandalaris, that's my main role. And then I lead, of course, which I'm going to talk about, SVC, Skandalaris Venture Competition, GIA, Global Impact Award. And we always forget about Idea Bounce, right? Idea Bounce is awesome, right?
Yep,
Idea Bounce is awesome. We're rolling it even bigger. There's a new website on for ideabounce.com. It's great stuff. But just to answer your question about SVC, so SVC is for Skandalaris Venture Competition. It's for current students and alum up to 1 year. So they're able to enter into our competition. What is the end goal? Well, we have a prize for $22,500. Of course, one team is not winning that prize. That prize money is divided into usually 3 parts. So in the Skandalaris Venture Competition, we're always like, come in. If you have a fresh idea, you've been working with an idea throughout the summer, or you've just been chewing on something, come, let's see how we could support the growth of your idea. So then they come into the Skandalaris Venture Competition. Our first deliverables always say 2-minute pitch, right? After you've written about your idea, we're like, go on ideabounce.com, post a 2-minute video pitch. And in that 2-minute video pitch, we're really looking for that energy, that passion, right? Of the entrepreneur, because that's part of what an entrepreneur makes, right? How we're pitching our ideas, how we actually make sure our hearers are understanding what we're talking about. So one of our deliverables is that pitch, right? So then throughout the competition, what happened, you missed it, Marlon, last year, this wasn't done. A new implementation is trying to build that cohort experience through the Skandalaris Venture Competition. So,
yes, absolutely. Yep.
Yep. So we had a pitch practice workshop, which was amazing. So we had one of our experts from St. Louis, he's an entrepreneur himself, has his own restaurant. He came in place and he gave us a pitch workshop to help to understand how it takes to pitch in front of investors. And then we were able to hear several pitches from the participants in SVC. And then I was able to teach on the value proposition canvas, right? So are you building something your customers really care about? Because we all know we have great ideas. Now we're supposed to fall in love with the problem, the solutions, the hypotheses, but now we're going to test that, right? Do our customers really care about it through the value proposition canvas? So we're able to build that out, weed out certain things. So maybe you have a great idea, but you need to just take some time and kind of develop it more. So after that stage, it's really now it's like, what's next? We say the 1-page exec summary. That's really important because we have so many thoughts. We've spent so many times as entrepreneurs on that whiteboard, writing up all of our ideas, our thoughts. Now it's trying to be clear and concise on what is your problem? What is your solution, right? What is the target customer? What is the value proposition? What is the team? What are the components that actually help you? What is attraction? what is actually helping you build to actually launch your venture. So now it's like more research. So maybe you haven't done customer
Yeah.
discovery. Every entrepreneur needs to do customer discovery before they actually launch. And customer discovery never ends there. It continues. Like even after you've launched, you're continually doing some customer discovery. So they get a chance to write that one-page exec summary. This year, for the first time ever, we got a chance to do a semi-finalist, which was nice. Loved how somebody called it a Sweet 16.
Oh,
Also, I
yeah.
was like, yes, the Sweet 16. That was pretty cool.
It gives it the appropriate level of accomplishment and also of competition, because,
Yep.
all right, we made it, but it's not over.
Right, which was pretty cool. So in that process, we got to get experts, judges come in, participants got a chance to pitch, and they had 2 minutes. So in a semifinals, what was unique about it, they had 2 minutes to pitch your idea. So they pitched your idea in 2 minutes, and they had to be judged off that. So that narrowed down to 7. But what was cool was all of the teams, the 16 teams that pitched at the semifinals, got a chance to pitch at an idea bounds SVC semifinal. So particularly for the SVC finalists. And we did a viewer's choice, which was the first ever viewer's choice. And what was super cool about it is, so the team that wasn't selected as a finalist was selected as the viewer's choice, right?
Oh.
Which is unique. 2
Yep.
minutes pitch again. But the viewers felt like that was it, while the judges felt like, so it was pretty cool just to see the dynamics, not because you don't make the finalists, because you don't win the prize money, doesn't mean that your venture's bad, right? Doesn't mean that. There's a lot of feedback taken. What are you going to do with that feedback? So once that stage is done with the Skandalaris venture competition, the next stage, what we do is the financial projections. So you've done great job. Now we think like you have a great concept. Let's see if those numbers make sense, right? And through that, we do a startup capital webinar. So basically we help these entrepreneurs understand. So so there's a lot of ventures coming in. Some of those ventures are startups, right? They have that 20% growth. They have their problems urgent to solve right now. It's needed so much. There's so much traction that's needed, right? Then we have more of the entrepreneurs are just but they're small businesses, right? So Startup Capital webinar, we have Enterprise Bank and Trust. We have a VC, individual that used to work at a VC firm, come and support these students, share their experience, the advantages, the pitfall, the disadvantages, and then just kind of support the students with questions and answers. So really great. Then they do the financial projections, which is always the best part, right? It's fun. It's super fun.
Yeah.
We can't.
That's the part of the business you can't pretend that you can have all the charisma. Yeah.
You can't pretend anymore, right? So that's where they're at right now. But after the financial projections, they get a chance to do the actual final presentation, which is super awesome because everything they've learned throughout the process, they actually get a display. And this is like what somebody that doesn't win the competition or don't become finalists, they're like, what did I gain from it? There's an education component. Like you know, Marlon, like the exec summary, there's a lot of education component that's pumped into it, right? A lot of support throughout our WashU ecosystem that's supported these ventures. So I've seen individuals that weren't selected at SEC semifinalists or finalists last year, and they went up to win a national competition, like the Draper competition, right? Not win, sorry, were selected as a finalist for the Draper competition. So that happens. We're giving you the tools to launch your venture, the tools to pitch in front of an investor, right? So you're getting those tools. That's SVC, which is super awesome. And then GIA, I call it the big brother, the older sibling of Skandalaris Venture Competition. So Global Impact Award is ventures that already have a proof of concept, they're scalable, they're quick to market. So these ventures are already doing stuff, really, right?
Okay.
And they're doing stuff and they're making impact in society. These ventures have to be for-profit ventures. Skandalaris Venture Competition can be nonprofit or for-profit, but for Global Impact Award, GIA, it has to be for-profit ventures. But in that phase, they go through the same phase of it, but except they're writing a 10-page opportunity summary. We're doing their homework. So we're getting you how to pitch in front of investors, getting you a lot of mentorship hours, right? Very, very strong on mentorship hours in that, because really they're looking to scale. They're not really looking to start up. So they've done some pitching and things like that. We're still putting that component in there, but the most important component is the mentorship, the feedback to get, or how they're going to move from that feedback. What are their homework they're going to do? So that's we host that once a year, while at SEC twice a year. But Global Impact Award, amazing competition. They got a chance to win up to $50,000, which is great. Right. And some of our former alums, winners of GIA, shout out, have become Arch Grants winner, which is pretty amazing.
Perfect.
So we're building that pipeline, right? So Arch
Yep.
Grants, something in St. Louis, which is doing some amazing stuff. So yeah, that's SEC and GIA, and it's just fun being at WashU, being that hub of innovation and entrepreneurship, seeing all these amazing ideas filter through our doors, able to support them, help them to take them to that next level. Just a lot of excitement happening, and we're back in person. So the energy's off and going like crazy right now.
Yeah, and I can appreciate the energy you're sending right now, because I think there's a lot of truth to what you said. The first one I want to touch on is, as an entrepreneur, there's just going to be a lot of bumps in the road. And even if you're in the right direction, some of the bumps might seem like they're too big, or the hurdle's too much, when really it's part of the process. And as you said, it's about building the tools, the resources, the network, because it can't just all come at once. And in entrepreneurship, from my experience so far, it doesn't seem to be that way.
It's not.
It's not. The one question I had for you particularly, because your role is supporting both local St. Louis, but also with the Global Impact Award, there's a more global perspective as well. What are the differences and similarities you would say from being an entrepreneur at a local level, but also at a more global level?
Yeah, I think the nuts and bolts of kind of what it takes to be successful is the same components, right? I think the difference is the market size. So how you functioning in the market, how are you getting traction, who are your partners, right? In a local kind of setting, it's more of, it's smaller, it's easier to work through, the profit margins aren't as large usually, but when you're talking about global, I mean, there's so much dynamics that go into it. There's so much more players that goes into it. So like, for example, say I'm an entrepreneur in St. Louis, in the local St. Louis region, right? The ecosystem's easier to build, the morphing, who to talk to, who to network with, it's a lot easier. But when you're in the global setting, it's different, right? We have something called Global Entrepreneurship Week too. A lot of people don't actually engage much in Global Entrepreneurship Week, which is, I think, it's a great week to celebrate and get excited. But in the global setting, it's a lot more demanding, I would say, not saying of lesser in the local level, but there's just more numbers you're dealing with. There's more players at the table you're dealing with. There's more conversations that needs to be heard. Usually the venture, it's different. Usually that venture is kind of in a different level, different setting, and there's laws, legalities that come in place. So it's just a different animal. But the nuts and bolts of saying what makes if a global entrepreneur than local entrepreneurs, you're like much difference in it. I'll say no, there's not much difference apart from kind of the setting they're in. And that setting is, as entrepreneurs, we're able to pivot into that setting because we've done a lot of grassroots stuff in local areas, because usually you start more in the local setting, you start in a small setting, you grow to that level. So it's just the market becomes larger, traction, becomes larger, there's more players at stake and things like that. Money becomes more higher. So that's really, to me, the main difference between like the global setting and that. In regards of impact, of course, for like GIA and SEC, the global impact, I mean, when we use a Global Impact Award, we're just saying impact in the society. But most people use the word global, seeing it as like the globe. In that sense, you're seeing more of where are the lower setting areas, right? In different parts of the world, where the third world countries are, what kind of impacts being made, how are we moving, how are we supporting the society of individuals, right, throughout these disadvantaged countries.
Yeah, that all makes sense. I really like that answer, particularly because that means that everything I've been learning and we've been learning, plus everything that Skandalaris is teaching, and just WashU in general, and just entrepreneurship in general, then if that's true, that means that everything I practice during my time at WashU will come in handy in the future. Obviously, it comes in handy in the present as well, but the the more clear point that their skills, the meeting with people and understanding. I think the biggest challenge for me, particularly as the salesman of the team, has been it's on the terms of the ask, and it was two parts that I finally learned it. One was to define and just think of my ask as an ask, and so to be more clear about that statement, anytime I'm asking someone for support or I'm asking for someone for their time, if I don't think about it in that way, I might be missing something. And the second component is that practice. So first, I just need to define it in my own head. Hey, this is how it works, and this is just business. And then the second part is, okay, now you just got to practice it. And so it's something that was definitely more difficult while as a student, but also easier now because I've practiced it so much more. And it's good to know that if it was something small and just me asking like the local food bank for support, or if it's something bigger, like asking, you know, a national level food organization for support, all of that would be, all of that makes sense, as in, these are the skills you need to learn. This is the practice you need, and you can apply it at all levels, at all scales.
I think you're spot on, Marlon. That's right, right? The ask only becomes a great ask the more practice you get, right? The ask is there, of course, you can morph it and things like that in an early concept, but the ask becomes better with practice. It becomes part of you. So it's no more like reading the ask, it's no more regurgitating the ask, no more memorizing the ask, but now the ask is coming from a different place. The ask is coming from you just knowing your venture so well, and you're able to articulate it in a way that hits home and brings your venture alive, right? You're spot on with that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I didn't think about it. It does become a part of you, because it's no longer it's more of, I need this support, and I would like to ask you for your help, for your time, for your resources. And then also, here's the value that I can provide you, be it a new perspective, be it my own resources, my own network. Yes, that all makes sense.
Yep.
Now I want to ask you about your personal experience as an entrepreneur. And I want to start with the simple question: what was your first win as an entrepreneur?
Whew, first financing. That's the first win. First capital financed, right? Man, 3-4 years just hustling. Having an investor that's not really the best deal, but you need to start making movements in your ventures. So you maybe sign a contract with an investor, not the best, right? But so that wasn't my win. My win was when I actually had my first financing, and I freed me up from an investor to actually being a larger component of the profit, which is really good for me, because then I started gaining those my projections I had became more for realistic projections and saying, okay, there's still a cut for an investor. Yeah.
Could you just share a little bit more? Like, what was like that week like before you signed, when you signed, and then after, where it was just like, yes, this is real now.
Yeah, no, it was coming in, working with that investor before. I was like, man, it's hard. There's a lot of work going into it. We're doing so many great stuff, but at the end of the day, the money's not still making sense, right? So prior to it, there's so much practice. I mean, you're talking about pitching, you're talking about exec summary, you're trying to make sure everything's done. You're coming to the table and saying, I have X amount of clients. So for my venture, it's not like, okay, our projected clients are obtainable market, right? These are the obtainable market. I'm saying I have X, X, and X, right? I have these clients listed. So I have 20 clients that are listed. They're ready to go for that housing. There's nothing leaving them. The only thing left, it's you. So I've done my homework. I've put these families, making sure that they're approved, making sure they're ready to go. Basically, all my financials set in place. Worked with a consultant. That worked formerly for HUD. We drafted up our business plan. We go through the numbers, looked at the competitors. I mean, it was digging and turning everything over. So it was like pretty intense. But when I got into that space, it was like, okay, this is gonna happen. I've done it. Like, where can they tell me it's not gonna happen? Like, everybody can always say no, right? But I had done the homework. I was proving them a document that was hard to turn away. And I was saying that, give me the opportunity. Let's start small. Give me this opportunity. I'm going to show you what's going to return. And the more I show you a return, I'll come back and I'll ask for more. And that's how it started. So of course, negotiation took place. But I was like, yes, when I got the news that it's done, I was like, no, it's about to take over, right? I was like, no, things are about to take over. So it was pretty exciting, man. It was one of the happiest moments.
That's, yeah. I really like the no stone left unturned, because the entrepreneurship is a risk. It's a big risk. It doesn't matter if it's a small project, it doesn't matter if it's a big project, it's fundamentally a risk. And therefore you have to find ways, you have to do your due diligence to de-risk yourself. And as you said, the answer might be no at the end of the day, which no is not necessarily bad, but there's a difference between no, I don't believe in you, and no, I don't have the funds, or no, I don't have the resources. And so, yeah, it sounds exhausting. And so with that, I guess my next question is, how do you balance that stress as an entrepreneur? How do you make sure that you're not burning out? How do you make sure that you set a limit for the time you spend on your venture, but you also need to spend time with, your family, your friends? How do you do that?
So I'm going to say, first and foremost, I'm not the best example. I've learned and now I'm doing it better, but I'm going to give a shout out to DemiTool, because I feel like DemiTool has that product that could actually help entrepreneurs. And let's be real, all entrepreneurs struggle with this. And even though we get over the hurdle, there's still part of our DNA that wants to just work, and we end up burning out and not having a great balance. But because for my venture, what happened is I was so much, you have to make your customers happy. You have to please your customers. So that's 24/7. You're dedicated to customers, right? So for me, that place of balance came. It came to when, it's so tough to say. It came in several ways. It came when I started teaching at St. Louis U, which I used to teach at before, because it showed that I was more well-rounded. I began to find out more about myself. I stopped living in my venture and started living as an entrepreneur, right? Meaning that I'm still an educator as an entrepreneur. I still have mentorship. I can mentor the next generation, right? And knowing that I have to see these future entrepreneurs and I have to tell them balance. And here I am teaching them about balance. So if I'm teaching it, it reminds me that I need balance, right? So I'll say probably that's when it came. Of course, it also came, the more revenue stream was higher, there was less, less demand of my work, things like that, of course, those logistics. But it really came the more I started talking with the younger generation, next entrepreneurs, and making sure they don't fall in the places I felt, the failures I had through. So like you, right? You've helped me a lot in like just chatting about it. Like we talked about it when you're at WashU, we talked about it. I was like, hey, I need this tool. I want this tool. Like I still struggle with it. Like it's a real thing. It's part of our nature as entrepreneurs. We don't know when to stop, but it's really important. And I feel like DemiTool is going to help so much entrepreneurs. Beyond that, there's people that's built in this way too. You just help us balance, because actually when you're able to balance, more productivity happens. So we're not actually being as productive. We think we are, but we're not really that productive. So there's very importance in that balance, because it creates that productivity for our venture, for our home life, for all that we're engaged in. So DemiTool is the next big thing. It seems small, but it's actually a great thing that we all need in humans. We all need it. And I feel like it's going to help us, because we need that product to come alongside us and say, hey, what are you doing?
Yep. There's two internal parts of me that really relate to DemiTool's mission, which at the end of the day is balance. There's if it's just one word, it's balance. And so the logical mathy side of me really appreciates the fact that there's only 24 hours. You can't have more, you can't have less. Therefore, approximately 8 of those are sleeping, approximately 8 of those are working, and then 8 others of the rest of life, which is hang out with your friends, let's go grab a meal, let's go play some sports. If from our perspective, it's just a really clear, if you don't know how you're spending your time, then you don't know yourself. And if you're, especially if you're in a situation where you're high pressure, you're working a lot, as you mentioned, particularly with entrepreneurs, of course, then it's still on this like mathy logical side. One of the clear concepts is optimum doesn't mean max, for example. So working the most hours doesn't mean the most productivity. And so that said, the other side of me, the like emotional, the friend part of me, the like family member, that side of me also wants to breathe and exist. And there are times where, you know, that part of me was minimized, where like school just keeps going and we're working on this venture and all that good stuff. However, even in those moments, or I would say even more so during those moments, I had to make time for that part of Marlon to exist. Okay, we've been working so many hours, so many classes, so many homework assignments. Let's go grab a drink. Let's go get some food. Let's go just sit in the couch and watch a movie. And so combining the two together, just being able to see it on the screen and say, oh, I need to sleep a little bit more, which was my big problem and still continues to be one of my problems. And as you mentioned, really the hard limit of not too much, because then, you know, you do become less productive, but also the like lower limit of get enough sleep, get enough friends, get enough family. Yes.
No, you are so spot on, Marlon, with all those things, because that's what makes you the best entrepreneur. That's what makes you the best person. Those are really the driving point, because as you know, if those things aren't healthy, then all what really matters, right? We see Steve Jobs, what he says. He says at the end, he wish would have spent more time with his family. He achieved so many great things, right? But that balance, that drive, which is such a great thing. Not saying that drive is not bad, because that drive is what makes us successful, but there's a balance. And I'm very thankful someone like you addressed it at such a young age, and then you're you're building that product on DemiTool to actually help others, those that are older than you and those that are going to come after you too.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of those things where you mentioned that we figured this out or doing it earlier. It's ridiculous just how much we live in a society that just pushes us to extremes. So be it you're working 2 jobs, you're working a job and going to school, you're, you know, constantly bombarded by social media, your phone is buzzing, your like screens are always on. And that's where, from a technical component, there are some amazing things that we can take away and like put into DemiTool, like make sure that your reminders, asking you to rate your events so that, you know, how was this interaction? So later today in my DemiTool, I'll say, you know, this call with Cyril, the really big takeaway, not only from the call itself, was just the positive energy that you're bringing. And so then in the future, when I look back at this moment, I can say, oh, you know what, like one of the big advantages from this call in particular was I need to be talking to entrepreneurs face to face more and more, because I too enjoy this energy, and I too wish that I could be at like startup week or just in person with people. Okay, so then like now I can make a little bit more, I can make a positive change in my life simply because I wrote it down, I just took some notes, I said to myself, this made my life a little better. Okay, perfect. Like, yes, let's do more of that.
Spot on, spot on. No, that's right. I mean, I take this as a lesson to learn, right? About reminding myself of the balance, right? This is the weekend, right? I have, because once Monday starts, the grind starts back. It's the weekend. What am I going to do with my weekend, right? We always start our team meetings by, hey, what was kind of the exciting thing that you did over the weekend? Like, what was it, right? So talking about beyond work life, beyond entrepreneurship, what are you doing with yourself? How are you making yourself a holistic? We're holistic people, and we need to have that great balance. So I love what you stated.
Yeah. Now I want to jump back to you, the person.
Yeah.
So on your LinkedIn, you say card collector. What cards do you collect?
Dude, so I've been a card collector since I was like 7 years old. And
Oh, wow. That's
yeah, so
ingrained.
I'm like an avid card collector. So I collect basketball cards and soccer cards. I started football, but I didn't American football, but I didn't really do it. So basketball and soccer cards, I have so many cards. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous how many cards I had.
Do you collect, is it sets of cards? Is it like the most prized cards? Or like what, help me understand what cards you collect.
Okay, yeah. So when I started when I was younger, it was more like I wanted to collect my favorite soccer player, my favorite basketball player card, right? And it's like how many cards I could get off each. And then the more and more it's like, so for me, it's collecting like historic cards, not saying they're worth more, things like that, but historic cards, moments of history, players that really made like history. So if that's in the soccer world, the Diego Maradonas, right? The
Yep.
epic games, the epic stats, the epic seasons they had, right? So for me, it's like, okay, I'm also a Roberto Baggio fan from Italy, one of the greats to me. So that 94 World Cup, right? So can I get a card of Roberto Baggio in the 94 World Cup? So epic seasons, epic major players, like what was it? The World Cups. I love to collect times in the World Cup, things like that. So that's more of my passion. So it's card that brings great memories back of amazing things that happened that we forget. Also cards that have a lot of value because this was a season, a player that made impact that player might not end up having great seasons, but they're remembered for that World Cup, right? Or they're well remembered for that team. So I love to just keep that as a nostalgia.
Now I have another fun question. You have a favorite
Yeah.
World Cup moment?
Man, yes, I have a favorite World Cup moment. So I had to be, was it 5 years old? I don't. So 94 World Cup. Italy versus Spain. My uncle took us out, me and my brothers, to it was in Africa, so a huge place. You watch it outdoor, the World Cup. Everybody's there, like shouting. Spain versus Italy. Okay, he bet against Italy. So that's actually how I became an Italy fan. He lost his money on so he bet Spain was gonna win. Baggio, last minute, Baggio came in, took over the game, and Baggio ended up actually winning that game and sending them onto the finals against Romario and all those guys of Brazil. So that was my favorite World Cup scene. I was super young. My uncle lost his money. I was excited. I said, I'm liking that player because my uncle lost his money. Yeah. Favorite moment.
That's exciting. Mine is 2010 World Cup.
Okay.
So I was traveling in Central America at the time, visiting my dad's family. And so I'm in my grandma's house in the small town in El Salvador and watching the game by myself in this room. It's the US third game. If they don't score, it's tied. If they don't score, they get knocked out, like high pressure. And so then 91st, 92nd minute counterattack. Clint Dempsey shoots, it's blocked, and I'm just like, oh no. And then Landon Donovan comes in, puts it in the back of the net, and then runs to the corner flag. But really the moment that got me was that, mind you, I'm not in the US at this moment. I'm literally in my grandma's house in this small town, and all of her neighbors go and so it was just a moment of, oh, this isn't like, this is global. Like, this is, people are supporting my team, my country somewhere else, somewhere completely different. And so yeah, I don't know if I can ever recreate that single moment, but it was just like the little kid me watching this on TV at like my grandma's house.
I love it. I remember that, man. There's so many great moments, right? There's so many. I know me and you can talk probably about so many other great moments, but I feel you so much because I think why I listed that moment is I've never been in that space, literally like shut down. Everybody's watching the game in a big screen. Like that was my scenery when I was 5, right? Like everybody watching the game. So we don't get to engage that in the US as much, right? You have bars and things like that that has the game on, but you don't get to engage like a shutdown, like it's World Cup time, like everybody watching. So I feel you on that. I remember that Donovan went wild on that goal. That was so awesome, man. I'm sure I was jumping somewhere when that happened.
I guess even talking about the sport, one last thing about like you and your balance, how has sport, generally speaking, and then also maybe football, we'll call it soccer here, helped you both like making friends, staying healthy? Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, man, I actually credit sports to me being an entrepreneur, even being
Oh,
out
really?
there, right? Yeah, I credit sports to so many things of my makeup, but being on the pitch, first and foremost, I was a shy kid. I was super shy. But once I became like a great, not great, but once I started playing soccer and I was actually good at it,
Don't worry,
right?
no one's gonna quiz you here. We don't need highlights. You were great.
No highlight. There we go. There we go. I started getting confidence in myself. So there was a confidence that I did not have, that was misplaced, that was brought to me by sports, right? So having that confidence was really good. And then throughout that confidence, I always, for me, it was, how am I going to take the team and bring them in to be as I am or be a success? So how am I going to encourage that person that I see might not be as good as I am, right? But they're working your butt off. How can I take what they're working and encourage them and support them? So for me, it was always, when I looked at it, was it's a team game. I can't win it by myself. Yes, if you go back and all these things, but at the end of the day, no great soccer player can win it by themselves. We talk about entrepreneurship, team. You need a team. You need people that are around you that's likely your weakness to support the venture of your growth. Same thing with soccer, right? Same thing with sports. So here I am, center mid, things like that, doing great stuff. Well, I need my defender. I need my forward to do runs. The best team I had was when everybody played their piece of role. So in friendship, it was just great for me to build friends that way. Till today, um, my best friends are the ones I played soccer with. Like my best friends. We might not have been close when we were playing soccer back in the days, but we came back. We still talked the beautiful game of soccer, reminisce on old times, and that's how it was, really. And in regards to staying healthy, man, it's one of the best things. We know soccer, it's intense. Like it's intense. It's not easy. Like it's the
A
sport
lot
that
of
all,
running.
yeah, and all your body is moving, like all the muscles like are moving, and you're thinking. It's a high IQ game. Like it's a really IQ game. That's why, like the greats, you have like the Pirlos that can just like not run as much, and like the maestro just direct traffic, right? And
Yep.
that's what's beautiful about the game. But yeah, it's really a game that helps you to really be healthy and fit, because there's demand in your body. But it's also very relaxing because there's conversations that happen on the pitch. There's dialogues, it starts friendships. There's laughters, right? When you juke
Yep.
somebody, you're laughing. You're like, oh, something just happened. So there's all this conversation that happens beyond. There's like the time of saying, okay, away from everything, this is just the game that loves and brings people together. Like it brings people together from all works of life, right? From the person that from the small disadvantaged neighborhood to somebody from the affluent neighborhood, the person from a different, everybody just comes together and we enjoy the beautiful game and we get passion and energy. So friendships are built and we're working out really good, and at the same time, laughter, right? We forget to laugh sometimes in our ventures. Sometimes how many of us like start laughing, doing jokes? Usually it's like your focus, your eyeball focus.
Yeah.
Soccer, you're gonna laugh. You're gonna be, especially when you get older because you can't make that run like you used to. So you start laughing at yourself. Yeah.
One of the for me, the thing that was very clear as I was young, and I guess the biggest tournament is called the World Cup, right? So I very much agree that I wasn't a shy kid, but I knew where the moment I had the ball between my feet and I was running and playing with people, I was in that flow state where I'm where I'm supposed to be. And furthermore, like just thinking about like DemiTool and like how I see it in my own life, there's a lot of subsects of friends and people that I want to like keep in touch with. And absolutely one of them is like my soccer friends. Like for example, we do fantasy for the Champions League. And so that's just something that we can do to like keep in touch, right? And so having this group of friends, particularly the old ones, but also the new ones that will come in the future where, oh, you like this team? Like, of course, I'm a Barcelona fan. So like, what's going on with the team right now? where it's a moment of transition, and you can just have that conversation to start. But also the moment you go up and make it like about your health, and like now we're all running around for like an hour and a half. Okay, some people left. We'll make this pitch a little bit smaller. We'll keep moving. And I didn't think about the laughter. You're absolutely right. Like there's part of it is just I need to compete. Part of it is I need to work out. But part of it is also I need friends. Like I'm a social, like we're all social creatures, and making sure that there's time. Because for me personally, I like to run by myself. I've tried running with other people, and like, yeah, sure, it can be great, it can be fun. But at the end of the day, like particularly running, like I just put some headphones on and then I'm moving. But the social side of like team sports, that there's just something else there that is valuable and that I can't get anywhere else. Like I can't necessarily get it from my like venture, because as you said, like I'm honed in, or there's just a certain focus with it. I can't necessarily get it from my family, although my dad will watch like Mexican soccer league games. Like I'm okay, dad, like that's your thing. I get why you like it, but I'm gonna watch like Europe play later. That's just me, right? And so then being able to just dissect and see it and making sure I like keep all of these groups nurtured is something that I want to do and be able to do with DemiTool and with my life, generally speaking.
And I love that, Marlon. I think that's what life's about. That's what pulls us the best as entrepreneurs. That's what makes us the best friends. That's what makes us the best brother, brother, sister. That makes us the best sons, children, right? When we have that balance. And that's why I love, honestly, I love what you're building, because I know it's so needed. And it's something that people are easy to say, oh, okay, I can do it. But in reality, we can't. We need that thing to put us together. It's like you need that family member to say, hey, we're going to gather together, right? Everybody talks about it, but you need that leader. And that's kind of what DemiTool is. DemiTool is like, I'm that thing, I'm that leader that's going to say, hey, you need to actually put this in practice, because when you put this in practice, you become a healthy person holistically.
Could you repeat that last part? The video cut a little bit.
I said, as a person, we need to be holistic. That's what DemiTool does. DemiTools makes us holistically healthy, because we need to be like that. If we're just a great entrepreneur and don't have that balance, we're not the great of us, right? There's so many things you're going to find out as an entrepreneur. You're going to start doing a venture. You're going to do it great. You're going to do DemiTool great. And then you're going to start something else. You're going to do something else great, right? But why is that? Where's that passion? Where's that energy coming from? If you burn yourself out, there's no new passion. So without that balance in life, that's new passion for me. Since coming on at WashU, there's new ventures coming out of my head, because I have regained that passion, right, of it. Seeing you all, seeing the students, alums, like talking about it, I'm like, yes, this is amazing, right? Having more of that balance in life, being matured, a little bit more mature, and saying, okay, I understand the venture. The venture doesn't own me, but what are the problems I'm seeing? What are the things I'm addressing? Like being passionate about a problem and loving the problem, it comes from when you have balance, when you have tools like DemiTools helping you with keeping you that balance.
Yeah, absolutely. A while ago, someone asked me, why is it called DemiTool? And so there's two subsections, right? The Demi and the tool. And so obviously the tool part is we're engineers, we're building things for people to use. That's pretty clear. On the Demi, if we think of like demigod, like it's just a human that is like more than just a normal human, can do more than just a normal human. And we just want to get people to that level where the way they spend their time, the way they interact with people, the way that they address their needs, their holistic needs, as you mentioned, is balanced, it's efficient, it's productive, it's what people would be living the lives they want to live relative to their conditions, right? Because you can't have it all the time, and that's fine. That's perfectly fine. That's most of life. What is important though is being able to say, okay, here is my hard stop, here is my minimum, here are my values, and here's how I want to live my life, because I want to make time for my friends. I need to see them. But at the same time, we all have responsibilities, and there's moments of focus, there's moments of leisure. Yeah.
No, I think you're spot on. I know you're asking me the questions, but I want to ask you one question, Marlon.
Yeah, please.
Tell me why DemiTool helps me. like in a short, concise manner. I know we've been talking about throughout this whole time how DemiTool helps, but give me like a 2 to 3 sentence of why DemiTool helps.
Absolutely. And I think this is the biggest advantage of the last like month or so, is just getting that one sentence down. At the end of the day, DemiTool helps people see, adjust, and maintain their life's balance. And so really what that means is that we're helping you understand and just like see what your needs are, what your goals are, what your tasks are, and who your people are. And so both of those things together, what it really means is that the moment you start actually thinking about your own life, what is necessary for your own life, where your goals are for the future, what your day-to-day tasks are, who you're interacting with, that's when you can start making really good decisions about what you've been doing, what you're currently doing, and what you want to do. Because if you're in a situation where, you're constantly under pressure, you're constantly doing all these homework assignments, if you just like looked at DemiTool, if DemiTool could just say to you, hey, your goal was to get a B in this class, minimum, right? And so far you're kind of there, but you're also struggling. Okay, so then either you need to be spending more time on this thing in particular, you need to find different people to help you, office hours, or maybe you're like doing super well on a certain goal and you have time to do something else. It comes down to time management, it comes down to journaling your thoughts, and it comes down to planning for that future.
Sign me up for DemiTool. Sign me up. No, honestly, because I met with Peter Baumgarten when we just started in person. Peter's awesome, teaching at WashU, family business with the Koch Center. I talked about, when I met with him, I said, I've decided I'm focusing on three things. My family, my spiritual journey, and work and my venture. Like
that's a good one.
Work and venture goes intertwined, because that's part of being an entrepreneur. You always got to be on your toes. So I love it. Sign me up for DemiTool.
Amazing, we got you.
There we go. So
yeah, and so if we could just spend the last little bit of the conversation talking about WashU itself. This is where I go to my notes, because WashU is an impressive place. So I just, for the audience and for us in this conversation, WashU was recently recognized as #1 for its entrepreneurship program for MBAs by the business educational news outlet Poets and Quants. And so they have, I think it was like 20-ish metrics, and I combined them into 7. And so if we need to go back to them, I'm happy to, but just to list them off, basically their metrics come down into 7 groups. So those groups are students launching a business, the primary and elective courses offered to the MBA students, opportunities for clubs and in-residence programs, having like dedicated space for entrepreneurs, the students then going into entrepreneurship for their jobs, having dedicated faculty and mentors that are for entrepreneurs, and lastly, having available funding. And so from those 7, or maybe we can go through each of them individually, but where do you think your role and then WashU's role really thrives? In this case, it's particularly for the MBAs, but also just generally speaking, of course, because it's not just one place. It's not just the business school. It's not just Skandalaris. It's not just one teacher.
Yeah, so uniquely, the Skandalaris Center is really involved in putting out this data. We work very closely with Olin and things like that. So yes, these numbers represent what Skandalaris does in there. So it's pretty powerful. A lot of MBA students in our SVC and GIA Global Impact Award. So yeah, in launching businesses, here we are. We had 61 applicants into SVC. So that's 61 applicants, right? And we boil it down to about 40 that actually does the first submission. And then you boil it down. So you're having about a potential of 40 people just in our Skandalaris Venture competition that are launching your businesses. Some students that are not even have sent me info and say, hey, can you help us send us information of how we can register our LLC, right? So these are things that we do, right? Some that were SEC semi-finalists to get picked as a finalist. We're helping them launch your venture once again. So this is definitely something that's happening. I see it happening always, launching businesses. I recommend that everyone, not everyone, but I recommend that if you've done your homework enough, launch your business. Like we're gonna be there to support you in regards of kind of like effective courses. There's great courses, great courses throughout.
Yep.
I mean, amazing courses. Hatchery. I was helping out Doug with Hatchery the other day.
Yep.
So there's some great courses, great renowned professors. Jessica Weldon, my colleague, kind of puts those courses together. We kind of share it, try to engage others because we're interdisciplinary. We're trying to get others into that space. A lot of MBA students are taking that. So yeah, it's pretty amazing. And then club opportunities. Oh my gracious, so many clubs, so many clubs. I'm trying to build all of the clubs. Let's come together. Let's figure out how we can streamline it, right? So many clubs. And by the way, Skandalaris Center has a club. We started a club, right? Our student-based led club, Skandalaris Center club, right? It's amazing. It's great. I went to one of their events, which is super awesome. Right now, they're having some SECs finalists pitching at the event. So it's super great what's going on right there. So many clubs at WashU, EVCA, and all these Sling Health. There's so many things.
Oh, Sling. Yep, that's a big one.
Sling Insight. There's so many great things that are happening that sometimes I even get lost of what's going on, right? And I go through that program and say, what are all our clubs, right? How can we connect with them? But there's so many in residence. I mean, you saw that. You should go on our website. We're continuously reaching out to in residence and specific expertise to provide these experts for our students that are in these MBA programs throughout Hatcher especially, right? And then we have our expert on calls, which are mentors, and we use also for our MBA students and others out there. So yes, we have a very, very strong, we're always looking for who is the best person to help mentor. So in residence program, basically our experts, mentors to help provide students with that support to kind of take their venture to the next space. Sorry, I said space because I'm looking at space.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. And then if I can just say really quickly, back to the classes, because two people in our team, both Deep and myself, went through the hatchery. And so I think one of the other things that WashU does really well, and particularly I believe it's something they're trying to do more of currently, is we both, Deep and myself, were part of the engineering school. And so being able to also connect with the business school and like dip my toes in for a little bit, and then through the hatchery, going back to that first point of launching a business, the whole point of the class is to launch a business, and there's no equivalent, right? There's just, you do it or you don't. And so even in my own experience, like I was able to then go with, for my master's, we took a class in entrepreneurship that was led by Doug. And so I was able to work in a group of 4 with Adalo, who is doing a no-code apps at St. Louis. And so not only is the school, the business school, but also there's like inner collaboration, but also, we actually got to work with like an actual startup that's currently working in St. Louis. So yeah, absolutely. Tell me about the space too.
Space, Skandalaris Center. I am so happy. It's literally a space that's 24/7 student. I mean, we have a micro conference room. We have a large conference room. We have basically space in our kind of the main room. It's just a whole bunch of desks, place that you can come and do your homework with your business plan. There's whiteboards all over. Some people don't realize, I think it's a wall, but it's actually a whiteboard. So it's super awesome. We have students here engaging throughout. We have ventures that are working in there continually. They're bringing their team and saying, okay, let's do our homework. Let's get that grind. So, there's a lot of co-working spaces around. Well, Skandalaris Center used to offer that prior to COVID, right? But still our students, not outside it, but our students are able to come into the center and able to work together, right, in our space. So there's a large space dedicated solely for our students to come in and work there. So yeah, the space is definitely covered, and we want, so that's pretty awesome. And then, so jobs in entrepreneurship, which is great. You talked about classes. I know this is not a graduate class, but Skandalaris Center, we have our fellowship program, and we teach a course called Navigate the Startup World, right? So in that Navigate the Startup World, these students in the summertime get a 10-week internship opportunity with a startup in St. Louis.
I've heard of it. Yes.
Right. With a startup in St. Louis, which is pretty awesome because then they're working in that entrepreneurship space. We're cultivating that entrepreneurial mindset, that interest to say, okay, you don't have to, but now after, are you interested now and actually working for a startup when you graduate, right?
Mhm.
And usually you hear that, yes, I'm really interested. I've been built out holistically. I'm not just a business student. Now I have the mindset of what it takes for marketing. I understand the team component. So yeah, jobs in entrepreneurship. We had our a career fair, startup career fair. We're always trying to bring startups into our ecosystem and saying, hey, they're looking for these jobs. Like, hey, who's out there? How can we connect with you? So we're continually bringing to students that there's these opportunities. So the startup career fair was a huge success last year, right? And we're always bringing in front of these the university students and say, these are the various jobs. You're seeking you all. You're seeking
Yep.
amazing
Yeah.
students from WashU, and we're bringing it to you. They're coming, and it makes our job kind of easy because they already desire you because they know what you guys are bringing forth. So yeah, jobs in entrepreneurship are really much we tailor towards that. And for faculty and mentors, I mean, we have the best faculty members. Might be biased, but
I'm a little biased. I'm having a great conversation.
so yeah, we have great faculties. I mean, we've been mentioning Doug Villard, which is a super amazing guy. I learned a lot from Doug. Great mentorship. I mean, a lot of our faculty members, they have startups, just like how I do. Like Doug also, you know, others been around that ecosystem, entrepreneurial ecosystem for such a long time. The mentors worked in startups, either started up something or are expert CEOs and various things. So like we have a pool of mentorship. Like our list of mentors that we have, it's amazing. It's amazing because that's what we know. What do entrepreneurs need? Entrepreneurs need mentorship and get in front of investors or financing or banks or anything to get financing individuals to get some capital, right? So we're working daily to build that mentorship pool to provide you with a feedback, because just because you don't win, like we're talking about the feedback, what are you taking from that feedback? How are you coming back? And the faculty members are providing that same feedback, but we know we're a voice sometimes people get tired of hearing because we're already there. So get another perspective. It's always important in entrepreneurship to get another perspective because we see things in a great way, but the more voices you hear, the better it is for you to grow your business. More feedback in a nutshell, right? Available funding, we kind of talked about it. The SVC has
SVC, GIA.
so Idea Bounce, which is
Idea
unique.
Bounce.
We're doing some great stuff so far. Since school started, we've given over Idea Bounce has provided over $1,600, right? Which is great. Like it's little, but our next Idea Bounce, great shout out. Anybody that's in the St. Louis area, next Idea Bounce is on Monday at 5:30 at Simon 1. And first 5 place winners get $100 each, which is super amazing, right? Some little, but some just encourage you. But beyond that, say the dollars for us is the networking component that follows through, right? Meeting these experts. We have some amazing experts. I'm not going to spill the beans of some really great experts that's going to be the judges for that, but it's going to be a great opportunity. So yeah, so we have the 22.5, 50 grand, and we have other things. We have the whole camp seed fund, right? There's so many other dollars that's out there. We have the NSF I-Core. So we have so many other dollars. We also, the Skandalaris has dollars. We're able to pay Balsa, some teams that needed some more customer discovery, some market research. We're able to connect it. So we're there. We're trying to figure out what you need, and we're always willing to talk with you and help you get to that dollars, right? Bringing investors in front of you. So be under notice. I'm hoping that we're going to get more dollars, right? We want more dollars for students. In my experience, what makes WashU entrepreneurship programs so successful?
Yep. We talked a lot about it in just before you answer. I think it's refreshing to hear your perspective too, because as a student, like we were going through all of this while, you know, it's, as you mentioned, it's getting the mentors and then getting in front of people that can fund. And so you are one of those mentors, and feeling your energy and feeling, also you're saying it's mutually beneficial, right? Because you're also getting something from us. So we have all the ingredients. We are like making the stew. Why does it taste so good?
Right. No, you're so right. I mean, man, it's so successful because we take time and we live in the moment. Every student that comes to us, it's not a bad idea. Every student that comes to us, I believe we're imagining that person has the next big thing. So we're giving them all of ourselves, 100% of ourselves, working through whiteboarding and saying, you have an idea. Let's filter through that idea. Why that? First and foremost, if you're starting your solution, so the time that's spent, really, we dedicate time to it. We provide a resource for you. So we provide the best mentors, we provide the best experts, we provide scoring, we provide feedback from you, we provide external competitions for you, we provide external networking, building idea bounce out to be partnering with Harry Stowe, with Morehouse, to Lindenwood University, Mizzou. We're building all these things. So what makes it really successful is because we are making sure that all pieces that you need to make your venture launch is there for you. We're taking the time to spend time with you to know what do you need. Our big thing after everything is, what is your ask? So when you enter into our competition, when you enter into these things, what is your ask? By knowing your ask, and I tailor it specifically for you. Some people want their ask is some more customer discovery. So we sit down with customers. Some people, their ask is for pitching. Some people's ask is mentorship. Some people's ask is being in front of an investor. So all these asks, we tailor it to benefit you, because this is fully for the person. So our program is not to say, oh, it's general, everything fits all. No, we say it's you. What do you want from this? And we're going to make sure that we depict this program around what you need from it, what you told us you want for it, and we're going to work our butt towards it to make sure that we give you everything that's needed for you to be a successful entrepreneur.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess with that said, do you want to shout out any projects that you're working on or any people? What should we be hearing?
So I want to give a huge shout out to the SEC finalists right now. Speak It, amazing, easy speak or Speak It, amazing MD, MBA student Kai, doing some great work. Vovopedia, doing some great work. Grad school, she's in her PhD, doing some great work. Closet Switch, doing some great work. Mosey, doing some great work. Upskiller, Octavo, I'm giving shout outs to all of them because they're doing some amazing work. And also those ventures that have not been through the Skandalaris Center, that are doing some great work. Anything coming out of WashU, we're excited for it. We want to be part of it. How can we help you? Let's take you to that next level. So I'm just thankful, Marlon, for you. This is what a alum should be like. You're doing it. You're doing it. You're living it, right? This is what I want to see, inviting us back of how I can continually make you be part of that ecosystem. When something like this, I hope Marlon comes back and mentors the next generation, right? That's a new thing that we're building out. Our alums that are doing something amazing, they're becoming successful, bring them back into our ecosystem, let them mentor their current students so they can also do amazing things. That's the goal. So I love it. So big shout out to Marlon. We're doing what should be done.
We'll take it. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And yeah, shout out to SBC, shout out to Skandalaris, and we'll keep talking.
Thank you.